It's fall. The geese are headed south, and it's time for you to hit the woods. So button things up, find where they hide, and pattern the deer you seek. Come into Cabela's Great Outdoor Days and save over 20% on Herder's select grade handgun ammo. Save $180 after mail-in rebate on Walther PPS M2 pistols with instant savings of $80. And get a Vortex Diamondback 3.5 to 10x50 V-Plex rifle scope, just $149.99. Shop in-store and at Cabela's.com.
Blog Talk Radio.
Well, hey, kids, it's exactly 3:03. Yes, I know I'm 3 minutes behind, but when you're the boss, you can actually do that. I know it's probably not the coolest thing in the world, but yes, I was just finishing up calls, rushing around. I'm so excited about today's guest, and so it's making me nervous. And you know how I am when I'm nervous. It takes like 8,000 hours for me to get it together. But here we are. I'm doubly excited today, literally, because we have a double show today, meaning that Stacie Jones Upchurch is going to be starting the show first. Some of you, as I mentioned, might have known her from the Celebrity Apprentice show that used to be on, on when Donald Trump, I should say, was on, actually. She was in season 2, and so she's usually known for that, but she has unfortunately had a life experience that has changed and altered not only her career, but also the way she looks at life and other things, and I'm so excited to be talking to her. It's not very often that we get an opportunity to focus or highlight on, some of the things in May that we're aware of. We've obviously talked about Mental Health Awareness Month, which is May. We've also talked about Preeclampsia Month, which is May. Now, of course, obviously, National Stroke Awareness Month is also in May. Today is the very last day of May, obviously. So we want to make sure that we have a good, rounded conversation, and who better to talk to about it than someone who has actually suffered a brain aneurysm, sadly. So Stacie's going to get into talking about all sorts of different things, meaning we're going to get into the brain aneurysm thing. We're going to talk about all sorts of other things, including her past history with being in films. I'm terribly excited because she's such a doll. And then second of all, we're going to round out the rest of our show with Deborah Lighthart. Deborah Lighthart is going to be coming on the show today to talk about her business. And she is also an energy healer, tarot card reader. You name it, she does it, literally. I mean, I am so compelled by all of the different things that she does. I'm thrilled. And the reason I say that is because of the fact that once, I want to say about 5 years ago, I was in New Orleans, as a matter of fact, and I had my very last tarot card reading. And I have to tell you, it was so point on that it was scary. I mean, literally scary. I mean, I couldn't stand it. And so today I'm very nervous because I have obviously asked her to do a reading for me. So I'm really super excited about finding out what my future holds, if she can tell me in 5 quick minutes what my future holds. Well, one of the coolest parts about her is she doesn't just do energy healing. She does things like energy baths. She does intuitive reading. She does spiritual counseling. She does actually marriage ceremonies, wouldn't you know? How funny is this that I've known this girl for how long and I don't even know that she does energy readings? It's so cool. So am I excited about this? Yes. Am I in uncharted territory? To some extent, because as a journalist, I investigate as much as I can for facts and what I know, but we're delving into an area that I really know nothing about, but I'm very excited to know about. In fact, my best friend actually is practiced Reiki before and all sorts of other energy healing type things, and she's constantly, frankly, nagging me about it all the time. So I'm like, oh, my God, I'm so excited about this. Because now I'll actually be able to trump her a little bit and say, hey, Sherry, guess what? I know a little something about what you've been talking about. So thumbs up, Deborah. Let's hope you can teach me a few things that I can go ahead and pester my best friend with, which would be totally cool. So as I said, we're going to start the show off with Stacie. When we get done with Stacie, we'll head off to Deborah. And then if you've all checked my schedule or my itinerary that I put up today, we're going to be interviewing Brittany Herbert tomorrow. And, of course, she has this wonderful organization by the name of Sky High for St. Jude, which is a nonprofit who puts on actually clay shoots to raise money for patients and families. She has also coordinated and worked with the Ronald McDonald House. She also does some work with the Texas Children's Hospital. Fabulous concept because she's an outdoors type individual, and here she is running around taking all of her good and using it for good. As you know, I'm a huge supporter of anybody that takes their time and their efforts and pushes it into the support of particular agencies. I cannot tell you how excited I am about talking about that. But that's going to be tomorrow at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time. My original show that was scheduled for Friday is actually going to be canceled because I didn't cancel it. The publisher actually canceled it. And so therefore, excuse me for 1 second, folks, literally, because I have to send my client the number because apparently for some reason they're not being able to call in. I don't understand why, but we'll just send it to them again. Sorry about that deep pause for 30 seconds. So back to what we were discussing. So, yeah, Friday I was supposed to have a show that a publicist had set up for us, and unfortunately that wasn't able to happen, and I'm kind of bummed about it only because of the fact that I'm really excited to host her. But the good part is she's coming on July. Yay! We like it when people reschedule. So I'll be very excited to have her on the show, and it'll be sometime in July. Couple quick notes because we're still waiting on our guest, and I apologize, folks. Sometimes what happens is either people will call in to me or they don't have the call-in number or it gets a little confusing. So hopefully we should have, Stacie on the line shortly. So since I have a minute or two to give a quick update, as people might have noticed as I posted up, I will be at Comic-Con, which is July 8th, and that is in Las Vegas. Yes, it's the very first marijuana/cannabis comic book show. Yes, I'm attending. Yes, I'm a supporter. Yes, it does seem strange that I'm combining my son's comic book with marijuana. That didn't sound right. But you all get the gist of it. Obviously, of course, it's a comic book convention, and I'm so blessed to say that they are not only letting me cover the comic book conference, but we are also going to be having Kerwin's comic book there. So I'm so excited. It's an opportunity for my son to get his comic book out there. It's an opportunity for me to network and meet some great people that we can do some great things with. So please come out. Comic-Con July 8th. Also going to be in New York City, but you already know that, don't you? July 20th to the 25th, I will be there in and out working on my film festival, which, reminder to everybody, Art is Alive Film Festival, July 21st to the 23rd. I always finally have Stacie online. So excited. So without further ado, instead of listening to me talk, it's far more important and necessary that we listen to her talk. So let's get her on the line. Hello, Stacie.
Hi, how are you doing? I wasn't sure if you heard me there.
Oh, no, as a matter of fact, I didn't. And all of a sudden I got this pop-up that came on there. And usually on my show there's never this quiet. So I'm like, people are probably thinking, what's wrong with her? Is she dead? She's actually quiet. And I couldn't find you. And then all of a sudden you didn't have I think what originally happened is you called me, as in me, Cindy, the cell phone instead of the show, because the show number, that 646 number, is the number to call in to get to me when I'm on the radio. But you have me now, and I have you now, so we're both here.
Perfect.
Thank God.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
So there's so much to talk about. Oh, my God. I literally just said to somebody today, I couldn't be any more excited about talking to you than anyone else this week, honestly.
Oh, my goodness. You're awesome.
No, well, let's just start off we'll start off talking about your history a little bit before we kind of get to that life-changing event, because people recognize you for different things, obviously. One of the things I found out about you, which I didn't know, was you had actually initiated your own fragrance.
Yes.
When did this happen?
In terms of the fragrance, well,
being
on the
fragrance itself.
Sure, Stacie Gage fragrance. So what happened is being on The Apprentice with Donald Trump years ago brought me so many opportunities. And one of the opportunities, a fragrance company right here in New York approached me and was like, would you like to have your own perfume? And, everything sounded good. I love perfume. And they let me come into their lab, design it with the chemist. It was such an amazing process. So, I was pretty much approached due to one of the opportunities that came from being on The Apprentice. That was one, as well as, having my own line of jewelry with Claire's. But the fragrance was great, and it was carried in all the Claire's stores as well and available online as well. It was great.
Very, very nice. And that's exciting, too. And obviously, of course, who doesn't want to have something that has your name on it or is recognizable to you, obviously? Because if you've looked at her, folks, I mean, you're absolutely breathtaking for a young woman. You're so cute. I've seen your pictures. And I'm like, oh, my God, you're so cute. You are. You're very cute. You should own that stuff, actually. Now, I'm curious to ask you about, I know this is going to sound funny, but it's Stacie Jones Upchurch. So I'm curious to see where all those names came from, because you have, like, two names, apparently, or you don't have a middle name, or I'm an idiot. I'm not sure which it is, but the name, it's very original.
My legal name is Stacie Jones, but this is not, I don't know how interesting you'll find this, but my stepdad, is Upchurch, and he was a Denver Bronco, and the short story is, he was supposed to adopt us when he married my mom. It never happened, but we all started using his last name, Upchurch. He was very famous during the Craig Morton days and during our upbringing there in Colorado and junior high and high school. We actually were famous because he was famous, so we started using his last name, the famous last name. And then as I transitioned into college in Atlanta at Emory, and I started doing modeling, and I was just using Upchurch. Meanwhile, my legal name the whole time was Jones. But Upchurch kind of stuck with me the entire time until the point when I did get on The Apprentice when they were like, oh, no, you got to use your legal name, even though I had been using Upchurch for years, off the books, but I felt like it was my name. But that was a turning point because for about 15 years, Mom, and there was always Stacie Upchurch, so people around the United States knew me as Upchurch, but at the end of the day, all my checks came to Stacie Jones, which is my legal name. So that's it,
Right.
Like I said,
I get you. No, I get you.
Totally
I just thought it was interesting.
But,
I didn't make the connection. I totally did not connect anything, and I was like, of course I didn't know your family background or family history in terms of your dad. And I'm like, how cool is that? It's a really cool name, actually. Because when I was looking, most of the time you're referred to as Stacie J. Because I remember when you were on Celebrity Apprentice, that's Stacie J, which I assume is a short version for Jones, or is it synonymous with something else?
No. There were two Stacies on my season. I was on season 2, and that was Stacie Rotter, and I was Stacie Jones. So the producers said one day, well, how are we going to tell you guys apart? Okay, Stacie J and Stacie R. So there it is. The branding started. The branding started with the Stacie J as of that moment.
That's cool. That's very cool, actually.
Yeah.
Well, since we're on The Apprentice, I guess we should talk about this because some of us obviously don't get the benefit, or at least I haven't had the benefit of going on to television as of yet. And most people obviously watch TV all the time, and everybody has their own opinion of how this is. Can you talk a little bit about your experience of just being on TV and what that was like, meaning on that particular show? What was the experience and like? What did you gain from that?
Well, it's interesting because coming from modeling background, I had already been on TV. I'd been on every single soap opera in the United States,
right?
Doing
I
Under
remember.
Fives, and and I had done tons of commercials. But coming onto The Apprentice, I had no clue. I really have always just ran my own businesses, even as a model. That's your own business. So I had never really focused on watching TV. The only TV I watched at night was CNN and David Letterman at the time, okay? Those are the only things I had time to turn on. So I didn't realize the show was as popular as it was, and people started telling me who knew me once they saw season 1, which Aneurysms was on, and they were like, you can go on Donald Trump's show and you can win it. And I was like, what are you talking about? I have no time to watch TV, but okay, so I was bored one day. I was in my Miami apartment. I turned on the TV, and I was caught one episode of The Apprentice. It's like, oh, my God, this is what everyone's talking about, the craze around the United States. This new show. Right. And I was like, you know what, I probably could get on the show and win it. So I said, you know what, let me just apply. So I went ahead and applied, and I got on. But my experience on TV on this show, being the number one show on TV, and I was on the season 2, before the first show even aired, they were showing the commercials. So people who knew me already just from living all around the United States and being a decently successful model were like, okay, that's Stacie. So I would walk out of my building in New York, and they're like, oh, you're going to be on The New Apprentice. So let me tell you, when it hit, it's not the way I wanted to get fired. I actually set out to win that, but there's a lot of underlying things that had happened on that game show, I guess you would call it. Soon as it starts airing, I couldn't walk anywhere in New York and go one block without someone saying my name. Stacie J, Stacie J, Stacie J. So that for me,
I bet.
I was no longer just a regular person. I was always consider myself, I knew a lot of people, but this just catapulted. I mean, I couldn't walk out with just in my sweats. Now people are like judging you for every single thing that you have on. They're looking at you, and all of a sudden it's like becoming an A-list celebrity overnight. And I'm telling you, it was like an A-list celebrity for at least 2 years. I could write my ticket anywhere, any restaurant, get any interview I wanted, anything that, I would get on the airplane, the entire airplane from front to back would know my name and would be talking about. Everything was like catered to you as a short-term A-list celebrity. It was kind of crazy. Now I'm kind of anonymous. Sometimes people recognize me, but that was a very interesting experience.
Well, and what I find interesting, too, at least in my opinion, I'm sure you'll share this, is I don't think people really realize the transition that you have to make once you're leading a regular life. All of a sudden you go onto a television show, and especially, as you said, one that's that popular. That means integration and change into your life. And because I know you're a mom, I'm curious to ask how you were able to kind of shelter them from all that attention. Do you know what I mean? Or were they embracing that, or were you embracing it? Because they were younger then, right? Or are younger, I should still say. So how did they take
I had no kids. No, I had no kids.
At that time?
I was still,
gotcha.
I had no kids. I had no kids. I have 2 very young kids right now, but all this was prior to kids, so I was still having, like, the time of my life in terms of, like, partying all around the universe, basically. So, now they see the episodes, and my oldest one is starting to understand, because, she understands. It's like, Donald Trump, she's very much against, what he stands for in terms of how it affects kids. Wow. I mean, the election was just so horrible for me to have my kids watch and say the certain things that he was saying on TV, because the kids are actually internalizing this. And she's like, well, you were on that show? I was like, yeah, okay, I was on that show. So she doesn't quite understand how I could be on that show. But anyway, that was interesting.
No, I get it. Oh, definitely. And so here you are now, obviously, of course, and as you might have mentioned, just so you folks know, I know those top three, the All My Children, As the World Turns, and Guiding Light, because I remember watching all of those shows, and I remember and I'm curious, because you've actually been on soap operas, and now we live in a world where it seems like half of our television shows are soap operas. Have things really changed that much in terms of our television viewing, do you think? Because it doesn't seem much different.
Well, reality TV is so prevalent now. People want things in real time, and they want to, be almost like voyeurs and look into everyone's lives. Like I said, I was never a huge TV person, but I see that aspect of, reality and all the dance shows and different type of reality things, So I guess it's changed in that respect. But once again, I've never really been a big TV person, so I don't know.
I getcha. No, I understand. I totally do, actually. And I understand that you were on the Tony Danza show, which is so cool, because I remember that. I feel so old now. I'm like, oh, my God, I remember all of this stuff like it was yesterday. And did you get to meet him? Because I've heard my friends have met him, and they said he's just a gentleman. He's wonderful.
Oh, he's so nice and so cool. I mean, what happens is on The Apprentice, after you're fired, you have this whole press day. And I was able to do, Matt Lauer interviewed me on Good Morning America. Then I went over to the Tony Danza show. I did a whole blitz of media, because of the popularity of The Apprentice. So, but Tony, he was so nice, and where is he these days? He's
That's a good point. You know what? He's been doing that. I think he's been doing theater, to tell you the truth, because I saw some of my friends in a production with him of something. So I think it's more theater. I would like to see him do independent film, frankly, because I think he's terrific. He's very handsome. He's very versed in what he does. I think he'd be terrific with that. So we like you, Tony Danza. Well, we both like you, obviously.
Absolutely.
Now, he is absolutely awesome. So now I want to talk about as I understand it now, you actually currently live in Harlem. Is that correct? See, I know you're a New Yorker, but I just wanted to confirm, because I thought it was Harlem, or did you start off in Harlem and move? I just want to clarify that.
No. I've lived in Harlem almost 15 years, so I live in Manhattan. Well, I guess Harlem is now considered Upper Manhattan, but it is Harlem.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm actually
and the reason I ask
you from a restaurant in Harlem right now.
Oh my God! Really? How cool is that? That's awesome. Yeah. Because I have a question. I do. I have a question about Harlem, because I'm eventually moving there. I live in Wisconsin now, so I'll be living there in the next 6 or 7 years. Harlem is one place I've never gone to. So my next trip next month, I plan on visiting. What's something cool to see? What can we expect out of Harlem? What's really neat about Harlem? Because I've never been there, so I don't know.
Well, number one, when you come here, you must call me. You have my cell phone number now. So I will personally take you to, of course, I love Marcus Samuelson, from Top Shelf. Okay. Marcus Samuelson, he has a great restaurant here called the Red Rooster. Okay. Very hard to get reservations. I know him personally. He's a great guy. He just opened a Red Rooster London over the past weekend. But, of course, you come to Harlem, you got to go to the Red Rooster. And I will start there. He already has a ton of press. But then I have my friend Carl. If you really love drinks, like a great downtown, uptown spot here in Harlem is called 67 Orange. And it's on this street. Yeah, it's called Frederick Douglass Boulevard. It's like Restaurant Row in Harlem. It's all these restaurants. And Carl's spot is called 67 Orange, and he has one a little further up called Solomon and Cut. And let me tell you, the drinks, the food is amazing. But he's a mixologist. So really, 67 Orange, great cocktails. Those voted some of the best cocktails in the United States. So between the restaurant and the cocktails, I think you start with those three places. You'll be on your way here in Harlem.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah, because I've been looking forward to it. I keep trying to get there, and I've been everywhere else. I'm like, this time I have to go because, you have to experience every part of New York City when you go there, especially if you're going to live there. I have to start getting used to it. So that's awesome. And, yes, I will call you once I get there. I'll be there next month, probably
Please.
later part of next month, actually. So I definitely will. What I want to know is, we're going to step back and talk about your education a little bit. I know you went to Emory University and, of course, got your MBA at Mercer University. Now, that means you're not only very pretty, you're also very smart, which we could have figured out already based upon your past experience with things. I want you to talk a little bit to my audience about this. We talk a lot, different people that come on from television and film. Some people swear by, you know what, education and academia is the number one thing that you should have in your background to go places. Other people come on my show and they're like, yeah, I had 1 year of college, I dropped out, and now look at me, I'm an actor. What would you encourage people listening in to do, meaning young people, people first starting out in a career or business? What do you think is best at this point in time? Because some of my friends are finding, even with an MBA, it's really tough to get a solid career these days. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, my advice is definitely to stay in school, and the reason I say that is because school lays a foundation. Even if you don't get a job with your master's or with your law degree, what it does is it lays a foundation and it teaches you a way to think. Now, also, depending on the school, like a lot of times, I'm a great memorizer. I memorize very easily. So it was very easy for me to ace high school, to basically ace college, and I did all this on memorization, but a lot of times I forgot a lot of things after that. I would know it for the test just to get the A. Now, I don't like that way of teaching. Like where my kids go to school right now, it's a great private school here in New York that teaches the kids from the inside out, and that's a whole nother long conversation, but the learning actually becomes a part of who they are, so they're just not memorizing. It becomes a part of their mind, body, and soul, and it's an amazing progressive way of teaching instead of just the traditional route. But what I say in terms of that, I have my MBA, but I've never worked for anyone in my life. I've always been a 1099 employee. And I've never been a W-2 employee. I've never clocked into someone's office and picked up a paycheck. And a lot of people said that was going to be my downfall on The Apprentice because I'm used to working for myself, a self-starter, and I've always been an entrepreneur since I'm 16. I just have a great education behind that as the foundation. The education teaches you, well, what's an accounts receivable? What's an accounts payable? You know, how do you deal with customer service? It teaches you certain things. But there's nothing like book smarts also with street smarts. You have to have them both. Okay, so
I agree.
I say definitely education. Get as much education as you can. But if you do have a passion or a talent and you're really honing in on that, you may not need as much education as you can. But it never hurts to have as much education as you can. But if you have a talent and you're really honed in on that, you know, maybe staying in college is not the best alternative for you. Maybe you're going to be a great ballerina, and now you're off at the New York Ballet, you know. So, you know, it's an individual choice, but I think education, you can't go wrong. Get as much as you can. But in this day and age, you really do need to know how to reinvent yourself. I think I've had to reinvent myself at least 7 times in my lifetime. So you have to know how to be flexible. You have to have, you know, you just have to keep a lot of, you know, have some choices and some doors open. I wouldn't put all your eggs in one basket in this day and age.
Very good advice. Definitely very good advice, I have to say. And since we both know that I brought this up, but we'll bring it up, I am big on talking about our personal lives to some degree because, of course, I think it's our children that are life loves and kind of motivate us and bring us some of the best memories and moments in our lives. So if you wouldn't mind, just share with us a little bit about your beautiful children. Tell us about your kiddos.
Oh, no, they're great. They're at a great school. They have a great education. I don't talk a ton about my kids, but, I mean, they're doing exactly what they want to do, and they're thriving in cello and violin, the other one, and ballet and dance and the professional programs at different places around the city. And, you know, they're great girls. They're at a great school. You know, I'm very blessed. You know, they're healthy, which is we wake up every day. We thank God we're up. You know, we say our prayers at night, and they're great girls enjoying growing up in one of the best cities in the world. So my girls are great.
Right. I agree with that, definitely. And, of course, I have to tell you that when I posted up your information and your photo, of course, because I have a number of followers, of course, the big question came up, you need to find out if that girl is single.
Well, you know.
So, I don't want to put you on the spot or anything. No, you're not putting me on the spot. You know, the father of my kids, he's a great guy, and he's a very dedicated father.
and he's very involved in their lives, and he's involved in our lives, but no, we are not married. And I'm actually really not looking for anyone, to tell you the truth, just because, you know, my primary focus at this stage in my life is just really my health and my kids.
Right.
And, you know, it's very nice after you've been around for a while and been able to have I've had a lot of options in my life, and I'm actually very blessed and thankful to God for that. And after being able to date, you know, pretty much almost every personality, I'm pretty content with myself and my kids and my health and my kids right now. So, yeah, that's really what I'm focused on. And people sometimes feel like, what, you don't miss dating? No, I really don't. I did that so much, you know. It's not, you know, I have enough companionships. I have friends that I go out to lunch and dinner with, but, you know, nothing serious. I don't want anything, like, serious these days. You know, the only thing, like I said, my kids and my health. If someone wants to, like, hang out and not be so serious and we're attracted to each other, well, that could probably work if I can find some time. You know, but overall, I'm not looking.
Okay, there you go, boys. You got your answer right there. I was asking on the male side of things, so there we go. We've got that. Now, I know that looking by your career profile, you've done this in the past, and forgive me for saying this, but I would have pegged you as I could definitely see you doing more films. So I guess my question is, down the road, would you envision yourself participating in more films? Because I believe you would be tremendous with that.
You know, I thought about it at some points over the last month. You know, maybe. My kids are getting older now. It's just interesting how your life changes when you're focused not so much on yourself and more onto two little souls that you're trying to raise. So maybe, you know, they're getting a little bit older, so maybe I'll get back into commercials or TV, but not anytime soon. Right now what I'm really into is expanding their school. It's funny how your life changes from, you know, the partying days and the modeling and the acting and all that. It's really into even expanding their school. I'd love to see this school model taken somewhere else. I'd love to see my kids' ballet school expanded, you know, things like that. Those are really more my focus. I'm sorry if it kind of sounds a little boring, but also you know, the health issue the health issue that I had as well and still deal with. You know, I'd like to bring awareness more to that as well. And so my focus is just a little bit different than in the entertainment right now.
I totally get it. No, and it doesn't sound boring at all. It actually sounds like an individual who's healthy and who has their priorities straight and is looking to do the right thing. So we're going to obviously talk about your story now. And so I want to kind of start at the beginning, obviously, because clearly your health issues actually happened in August of 2015. The first thing I want to talk about is one of the things I want to convey to people is you suffered a ruptured brain aneurysm. Now, your warning signs, did you actually have warning signs? Because you had indicated, I read about how having the headaches initially and such. Were there other accompanying things to this? Or was it kind of like you got blindsided the moment this happened?
Well, and can I just ask you, and I hate to ask you this, but my 5-year-old is like, I see her like screaming at the table. Like, oh, no! So sit back down. What I was going to ask you, are we actually live right now? Yes, right?
We are. Yes, we are, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Okay, no problem. So anyway, I just see my 5-year-old over there screaming. But
oh God.
Anyway,
we need to go. I mean, is everything okay?
No, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. I have my friend that's watching her, but you know, maybe at the most, about 5 to 10 minutes, because I see that she's like really being cranky. I didn't think that would happen.
No, I understand. That's fine. We'll try to condense as much as we can. That's okay. Go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So I did have, with all my education, I had a headache on July 31st, and I just thought it was a regular headache. Never had a headache in my life. Never took a prescription drug in my life. Always in top-of-the-line shape. Matter of fact, I only know one other girl, Nicole Murphy. She used to be married to Eddie Murphy, that I felt like was in better shape than me. Okay, and she's in great shape. So I got this headache, and I thought it was just a headache. I woke up the next morning. I had had 2 glasses of wine. I just thought I'm a lightweight. I thought I had just a headache. But I took Tylenol, never went away. And for the next 9 to 10 days it persisted. On the 8th day, the father of my kids, he said, I'm sending you for an MRI. I didn't know why he was sending me for an MRI. I had no other signs besides a headache, but in hindsight, he thought his sister had headaches and he was thinking brain cancer. That's what he told me after the fact.
Oh, goodness.
So they missed the aneurysm on that MRI, sent me out. I still had a headache. 2 days ago in front of a friend I hadn't seen in 4 years. I had a seizure in front of her, and she got me to Mount Sinai Hospital. I hit the jackpot of neurosurgeons because that happened right after midnight. We were up and just talking, and I had a seizure, first seizure of my life. So about an hour later, I'm at the hospital. I don't remember any of this of what I'm telling you. I had my life-ending seizure in the ER of Mount Sinai, where they had to resuscitate me and get me into the CAT scan and see that I had a bleed on my brain. And then I had brain surgery by 6 a.m. So at that point, my life changed. I was in an induced coma for 4 days, and when I woke up, they had seen that I had 3 extra strokes that affected this very remote part of my brain that affected my feet. So I was not able to walk, and my left eye was completely sealed shut. So when I woke up, I saw I was alive. I was looking out the window at Central Park, and my brain was operating very, very slow. And I couldn't move. But I was alive, and I prayed to God, and my healing started at that moment. I had to start trying to figure out where I was, what I was doing, how I get here, and blah, blah, blah. And here I am almost 3 years later.
I was just going to say, because I know you literally took a little over a month to recover. I remember that. And you kind of had to relearn. You've had to relearn how to walk. You've had to relearn some of the brain processes. How frustrating must have that been for you? I mean, how did you deal with all of this, having to literally clean some of the slate is like gone, and now you're having to restart again because of what happened?
Well, I was in ICU a month and 4 days. So the recovery, I'm still recovering now. I mean, this is not something that you just wake up from a ruptured brain aneurysm and you just recover it. I have severe issues with my left eye. Now, physically, when you look at me, people have a hard time, and you hear me speak, people don't really recognize that I have disabilities. I actually have now. My feet hurt every single day. My balance is off. Things like that. My brain does not operate at the same pace. Now, it's not as slow as it was, where I would see 1 + 1 go down the screen and would know the answer but could not verbalize it. I'm much far past that stage, but more difficult math, I'd have to take a little time to figure that out. So it does take, anyway, it's a lot of things that I'm dealing with right now.
Oh, sure, definitely. In fact, I know that you have certain things that you can do and certain things that you can't do. I'm assuming, will you be able to drive at some point in time again, or you just are not going to be able to drive?
Well, we live in New York, so, you don't need to drive in New York. That's not even like a focus of mine. You can get around everywhere in the city. Going down in the subway can be challenging. But that's not really something that I'm focused on, like the driving, because, you go zoom around and see these other car services that are dirt cheap, that are very efficient in New York. But there's things that I can't do, and I'm learning to do at a slower pace, and it's life-changing. I mean, I can't, the whole first year and a half, I couldn't even take care of my kids. So my mom had to live there, and my sister, I couldn't cook a meal. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even cook for myself. I wouldn't even be able to take a shower myself. I would bathe every other day because just to walk to the shower was very hard for me.
Oh, my God. And was there any form of family history prior to this? Like, was anyone in your family who suffered from this before? Or was this something that, genetically sometimes these things are in our families? Do you have any of that in your past?
Well, in the very deep part of our relatives, there's supposedly some history, but no one I know directly. What they say with brain aneurysms is if it's your mom, dad, brother, or sister, you really should be checked. Supposedly 1 in 50 people are walking around with unruptured aneurysms. So the more conclusive test that you should get is called an MRA with contrast, where they actually inject dye into your brain and lights up your entire brain. They could have seen the aneurysm, and at that point they could coil it off.
Really?
Yeah, so it's a life-changing thing. It's like a major health issue. It's like it's a brain attack. It wasn't a heart attack, it's a brain attack.
Right, you betcha. I was actually, when I was looking at this, my son used to have seizures for 3 years, and so we obviously ran the gamut in terms of having to do, we understand all too well how limiting and frustrating it can be to have a brain issue or neurological issue, whether it's a child or an adult. It's very difficult, obviously. So I guess I should just ask you, looking at how things are now as compared to before, of course, obviously thank you, God, because you're still here, and you're still breathing, and you're still alive. That's the number one thing.
I'm
that
so
goes without
glad.
saying.
Yes,
And without a doubt,
go ahead.
If someone out there is listening right now and they've gone through this same experience, what sort of support would you be able to give them? What would you be able to say to them right now to keep them going? Because I can imagine this must be a very discouraging, disabling path at times to get to where you need to get to function.
Well, my advice is stay strong. I hate to be so cliche-ish, but you really have to find. I told you I've never worked for anyone, so I've always been fiercely independent and was always a self-starter. I would imagine it would be harder for a different type of personality because you're looking at yourself not able to walk, barely be able to. My eye wasn't open at all, and I was just praying it was going to open every single day. So you're dealing. My head is shaved. I had the thing, the shunt drilled into my skull. So there's a lot of things that you have to, my advice is, hopefully you build a strong support network, people you can rely on. Without my mom and my sister, the father of my kids, picking up the slack for me, I couldn't do anything. You don't prepare to have a life-ending health issue, and that's what it was. It was a life-ending issue, a health issue, and I also ask God every day, well, why do basically over 60% of ruptured aneurysms end in death? Why did I survive and I'm actually able to walk around and communicate? So, it's just, I don't know, but God will materialize that back one day to me, and whether it's to bring awareness or just to help one person out get through it. But, the Lisa Calabrasi Foundation has great information on their website on how to deal with aneurysms, and different groups like the Joe Enrico Foundation. They have support groups all over the United States for people dealing with. I don't have my own foundation. I'm not sure if I really want one, but there are great foundations like those. Yeah, there are great foundations like those that are around that can help and provide support.
And that's definitely something that could be needed, I would say, without a doubt. Even also with my child, it was the same way. You need support, you need that love, you need that encouragement. You need people to understand and work with you. It's just that simple, definitely, without a doubt. Well, I know that your kiddo is needing you, so I don't want to keep you too long here. But what I will say to you is you have, two things. I will send you my contact information, so when I come to New York, I can track you down. And if you would like, we can sit down in greater depth, because I'd kind of like to explore your story a little more and maybe write it into a written article and show, kind of share it with multiple mediums and get it out there in a bigger way. I think you have a big, big story here, and I think more people should be listening to it, outside of my show, of course. But I want to bring as much exposure about you as I can.
Well, I would actually like to spend a little more time really going into the brain aneurysm aspect with you. Okay. And I've been doing articles, like I have something coming out in Heart and Soul magazine in July, and Stroke Month is coming up in September. I'm doing a big event with an organization, the Lisa Calabrasi Foundation here in New York, and, I'm just really trying to bring awareness to this horrible, horrible health condition. So I would love to speak with you more. I just did something with Ebony, so I would love
without a doubt.
Any awareness
that
I
would be
bring,
great,
because I really feel this is so important. It's so important.
Oh, I agree.
To know.
Definitely. And it's May of course, being National Stroke Awareness Month.
Yes, it is. And I had, along with the aneurysm, which is a major stroke, I had 4 strokes. People barely survive one. So, so I've had 4 major life-ending strokes.
You bet.
But I'm still here.
That's scary. And you are still here, and there's a reason for it, obviously. There's a reason why we're all kept here, brought here, and brought together. That's my belief.
And absolutely, me too. And let me tell you, yoga, meditation, God, a strong family network, these are all ways to recover from a brain aneurysm. You have to have a very strong faith. Yes, all this.
Oh, without a doubt. I agree. 150%. And I applaud all of your efforts, and including, of course, obviously, raising children. We all know as just regular people who've never gone through strokes, aneurysms, seizures,
Oh,
etc.
my goodness.
It's challenging to begin with, and then imagine bringing on a physical disability, right? I mean, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I can't.
No, you can't.
So that's why I say
and
that.
You don't want to imagine. You don't want to imagine either.
No. Definitely. So I would like us to get some FaceTime together in New York. It'll be a little bit easier. And this way it'll be easier to work with you in terms of that, because I know it's hard sometimes because you're having to bring your kids places and do interviews, and so that's why it might be a little bit easier for us to do that. I would enjoy that. That would be wonderful, actually.
And one thing I do want to tell, sorry to interrupt you, one thing I do want to emphasize too is, like, I've been in the insurance business for over 12 years, and I did not have adequate disability insurance because I was the one that always in the top of the line shape, health, everything. I have the Jones Insurance Agency right online. You can see my website right there. I do every single type of insurance. My sister mostly runs the company now, but she's been with me the entire time. We have life insurance, disability, Medicare insurance, but back to the life insurance. And I had life insurance. My beneficiaries, my kids and my mom would have been multimillionaires if I passed away. But I did not believe, with all my insurance background, didn't even have adequate disability. That's one thing I really encourage people, get your financial house in order, because you never know when your life changes and your health changes and you have kids to take care of. And as a single parent, you need the money coming in, and disability insurance will provide that for you. So that's another thing I want to stress. Get your financials, that life insurance, disability, get all that in order. Please do yourself a favor.
Oh, of course, just to make sure that you're protected, your family's protected, of course. I agree with you 150%. I don't want to forget to ask you this since you are on the line still. I want to go through and read these so that people know your website. The website is staciej.com. You have an IMDb profile. For the insurance, it's www.uniqueunderwriters.com. Your Twitter handle is @StacieJ77.
That's sorry to interrupt you. The Unique Underwriters is inactive. I'm sorry. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. But the main one is the Jones Insurance Agency, and the Twitter and the Instagram and Facebook. Yeah.
Got it. Only because that's what I came across, so I just want to make sure I'm giving proper information clearly. Definitely. And, of course, obviously, you're on Instagram as well, which is Stacie Jones Upchurch, because I found you on there as well. Any other place where people can find you?
Besides Facebook and Instagram and Twitter?
That should be it. I think I've covered everything. I always just like to ask people, just because I'm not perfect, so sometimes I forget things or don't mention things, and I wanted to make a point to not forget anything, obviously.
No, I always answer back on my emails and on those on Facebook messages and Instagram. I'll always answer back. And the Jones Insurance Agency, my website, the JonesInsuranceAgency.com, I always have messages there as well. So, I'm pretty accessible, and I'll answer anything reasonable, especially, when it comes to the items that I deal with.
That's wonderful. Well, good deal. Well, I will let you get to your kiddo, because I know obviously what it's like to have small children. I thank you for taking the time to come on. Definitely. I'll send you my contact info, and then let's connect in New York City, and then we can do a bigger article, et cetera, and that would be great.
Please do, and I look forward. I want to take you to Red Rooster when you get here, so please call me.
That would be awesome. I can't wait to see Harlem. It's going to be so exciting. Yes, I will reach out to you sometime later today. Awesome.
And you're coming at, the best time.
Well, it's like June. I was going to say June 19th or 20th, so I'll be there for 5 or 6 days. My kids are on vacation for 2 weeks, so I obviously would need to get there and take care of some business things. So, yeah, if we can fit in time between there, without a doubt. But I'll send you the details and personal information, and this way then you can look at your calendar and let me know. I will.
Call me when you find out. Well, nice to meet you.
I will, dear.
Nice
all right, darling. I'll let you go. Good luck to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. I had fun. It was great.
Right,
have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
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 Okay, folks. Interview number 1 done with Stacie Upchurch, and interview number 2 coming up right now, because I see Deborah's on the line. Deborah Lighthart's coming on the show, so without further ado, instead of letting her hang, let's get her on the line and get going on her segment. Hi, Deborah.
Hi, Cindy. How are you?
You scared me half to death because I thought there was nobody on there. I literally thought I was talking to myself, which does happen, but not all the time. And not on radio because I look stupid then. Hi, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
Well, you're intuitive. Why don't you tell me how I am? That was a good question, actually. I'm all right. I'm actually okay for it being a nice day outside. Well, I don't know. You're in Germantown. You tell me. What does your weather look like? Because mine is overcast for like the 17th time this year.
Oh, actually, it's really beautiful here. It's very sunny. We've got a nice spring breeze. It's really lovely here.
Wonderful. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And I appreciate you accommodating us so you could come on the show. Obviously, I have as much time as you would like. Well, not as much time as you would like, but certainly more or less or whatever. So I'll keep talking until you literally say, I don't have any more time to talk and I can't do this interview anymore. How does that sound?
All right. Wonderful.
Welcome to my world. This is pretty much how I am all the time, live and on the radio, just so you know, folks. So we'll kind of jump around. My interviews basically are, we talk about you as a person, we talk about what you do as a profession and things along those lines, just so people get a background in terms of who you are and how you became who you are, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds wonderful.
I find it interesting, and I want to know if it's play on words that your name is Deborah Lighthart, because ironically speaking, she deals a lot with light and heart issues, H-E-A-R-T, mind you. Now, granted, it's spelled heart. I was just curious if that was like an actual play on words on purpose, like literally, because do you know how ironic it is that your name is Deborah Lighthart?
I know. I just got really lucky that it worked out that way. As a child, I've always been Deborah Lighthart. And as a child, people would say, "Oh, are you lighthearted?" And I actually didn't even really understand fully what it meant until I grew up. And then I went, "Oh, lighthearted." No, I was pretty depressed as a kid, actually. But I kind of grew into my name. Yeah. But I kind of grew into my name over the years. And so, I feel like now I've finally sort of found that lighthearted energy within me. But a lot of people ask me if I chose my name specifically for my profession. And no, it's been my name since I was about 3 years old when my parents got married.
Very, very nice. And I noticed too, actually, you indicate this online too. It says the name Deborah actually means be seeking the honey of life. So I'm just curious what year you found the sweetness in life, or has it been over the last progressive number of years? Because I can say I've started at age 40 for me. I'm 47 now. I kind of found the sweeter parts of life. So I'm curious, have you found your honey yet, or are you still looking?
Actually, I feel like it's kind of a little drops all the time, and I feel like sometimes those drops even change. But yeah, probably around at the age 28 when I started my business as a tarot card reader and energy healer. And so when I started that, it sort of seemed like the first time in my life where I felt like I found my niche, I found my calling, and I started to feel like I was finally finding some drops of honey. And I feel like I just every year since then continue to add more wonderful things. In fact, some people have asked me over the years, what do you do for a living? And I'm like, I just do a lot of things I love to do, and I get paid for them. So, yeah.
Isn't that cool when you get paid for it? Like, I really love this, but I'm not doing it for free either. They're actually giving me money for it. I don't think people realize that when you do your passion sometimes, you don't get paid for it. Like, sometimes it's actually not like a paycheck. The reward goes on the inside, so to speak. So it's nice to get paid for the outside too, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Now, one of the things that people may not know about you is that you got your education at UW Milwaukee, which is in both art and psychology. So I was curious, because of your line of work, how integral is it to have a psychology background? I would imagine it's probably vital, is it not, to do some of the things that you do?
Yeah, actually, I would say it is a part of what I do, is just to understand human nature, understand relational dynamics, and, that is a big part of what I do. But a lot of what I do is also more of a spiritual perspective of looking at people's lives and their personal evolution and their development. And so the psychology piece, definitely gave me a little bit of framework to be able to understand, human growth and development. And the spiritual piece kind of gives me a different perspective to it that helps to make it a little more holistic, adds a little more insight that I might not have seen looking at just the, mental emotional piece.
Gotcha. And of course, clearly, when it comes to doing some of these things, meaning, for instance, we'll take a hypothetical, because some of us can do tarot card readings or learn how to do things like that, or intuitive readings, etc. But I'm assuming that you need to have some sort of educational background, for lack of a better term, meaning like my best friend's done Reiki healing and taken classes and courses. What sort of education in the healing, from a healing standpoint, let's say, for lack of a better term, where does that come from? Where does that background come from? Do you need to spend a certain amount of time getting certified for things? Talk to us a little bit about that background, especially if people are listening and they want to get into doing something like this.
Oh, absolutely. Well, as far as the healing work that I do, I am a Reiki master, so I've been trained, in Reiki energy healing. It's the Usui method, which is USUI. You can Google that. But yeah, I've been trained in the Usui method of Reiki energy healing work. But as far as the reading work that I do, that's something that actually I'm self-taught. In fact, it's kind of a funny story, because when I was 18 years old, I picked up my first tarot deck, having absolutely no idea what it was. And I was wandered into a toy store with a friend of mine who was shopping for his kids. And so I just kind of wandered around the store. I saw a deck of cards behind the desk, and I said, "Oh, what are those?" And he said, "Oh, those are tarot cards. What do you use them for?" And they said, "Well, they're for telling the future." I was like, "Interesting." So I grabbed them, took them home, started practicing, and over the years, practiced a little more and a little more, until eventually, it became kind of I was reading for my neighbors, my friends, my family, friends of friends. And one day a woman sat down with me and she said, "I heard you do the cards, and I just, wanted to get a reading." So I did it for her. And at the end, she said, "Well, in my culture, we have to give you a gift." And, so anyway, that's how my business started. So she paid me, and I went, "Oh, wow, I could begin this as a business." So I did. And so I actually have no formal training in tarot reading at all, completely self-taught. And when I started doing readings at this little metaphysical bookshop, they asked me to teach a class in tarot reading. And I said, I had to come clean. And I said, "I can't teach a class because no one ever taught me." And she's like, "Oh, sure you can. Just teach them what you do." And I was like, "Okay." And so I started teaching intuitive tarot, which is basically what I do. I read the cards intuitively, which is very different than the traditional method of reading, which is kind of studying, each card and what it spiritually means. I focus more on the imagery in the cards. And so I don't have any formal training at all, but I feel like if you like formal training as far as readings, you certainly can get it. I teach classes. There's a lot of other people who teach classes.
Sure.
So yeah, that's my background in education with it all.
Look at that. See, folks, with some of this, well, I tend to believe that if you have that intuitive gift, that you are gifted, meaning I'm not so sure that I believe everyone is intuitive. So I guess I should address that question to you. Am I false in my thinking, meaning that maybe subconsciously we're all intuitive and we don't know it, or what is your stance on that?
I feel like most people have an ability to be intuitively aware on some level. But everybody might feel it kind of differently. Like some people read people really well, and so they go, "Oh, that person is, this or that." Some people get a sense or a knowing about things. Some people get a gut instinct. Some people, I'm clairvoyant, so I see pictures and images. But I feel like everyone kind of has a little bit of an intuitive awareness. At least most people do. And it just depends, sort of like when you're like some people will swim and they'll go to the Olympics, and other people will just doggy paddle around the pool. Everybody's got a little something. Oh, no.
Sure. We all do. I agree, definitely. I think that's really neat that some of us have that. Some are just more stronger than others. That's usually what I see. Except apparently because I am your Facebook friend, so of course I creeped on you as well. So I can tell you right now, apparently Debbie currently is having an issue with what she calls fire energy. It was so funny. You made this comment saying, "I have this thing going on about my fire energy, and apparently something's awry with your fire energy." So have you rectified or worked that out? Because you remember that post?
I'm still working on it. I do. That's so funny. Yeah, I'm still working on it. My stove is still kind of wonky, and my convection oven is still wonky. But yeah, and I feel like I've got to do a little bit more work on that. Yeah.
God,
and that's kind of where
my goodness.
function. They're still usable. It's just,
Well, that's good.
I have a little. Yeah, and that's kind of the difference we were talking about in the beginning about looking at things from a spiritual perspective as opposed to just a mental
Right.
perspective. Anytime I see things going on in my life, that tend to have a pattern, I kind of look at that and go, okay, what energy within me is needing attention, needing redirection, needing more expression, what have you. And so if I'm having problems with cooking and fire and things like that, I'm thinking, okay, there's probably something off in my fire energy. And I have to take a little bit of look at that. And so that's what that post was all about. Is
I do want to know, though. No, that's fine. I apologize. I probably should have let you finish there. That's my fault. I was looking at this and thinking to myself, one of the things that I know that you have seen before, and people keep recommending this to me because I'm sure you've all heard of the Celestine Prophecy. And there was a movie, I believe, that came out on that same thing. I think it was a book, right? And then it turned into a movie.
Yeah.
Is that not right? You remember that?
I think so.
A while back, actually.
I think so.
Yeah. And
yes.
so I'm trying to figure out if some of us, like for instance, because obviously we're going to delve into the services that you provide and some of the things that you're knowledgeable in, but if somebody's sitting at home and they're looking for some sort of either mental or spiritual enlightenment, that doesn't necessarily mean, and I'm not saying don't go to see Debbie because we're going to wholeheartedly encourage those activities, but we can't be in Debbie's chair all the time. We can't be in Debbie's office all the time. So when we're not with you or someone like you, for instance, how can we work on mental or spiritual awakenings or awareness at home? Are there things that we can read, things we can do at home, ways that we can better ourselves just outside of the obvious, meaning we all know we should eat and walk and do all that stuff. But what about our spiritual growth and development? What are some of those things at home that we can do to nurture that?
Well, I think probably the number one way for me to grow spiritually and to get in touch with that aspect of yourself is through meditation. I believe very strongly in meditation. I believe it's been the key to unlocking, so many of my own personal awakenings and, my own personal enlightenment. So I believe very strongly in meditation. I also am a real big proponent of journaling. I feel like we can get in touch with ourselves so much more easily and clearly when we're writing, or speaking, to ourselves freely and openly. I think there's so many times in life where we kind of censor ourselves, or we sort of, we want to speak or act or think in a certain way because that's what we feel other people expect of us. And so in order to be really raw and uncensored, and to get those real feelings and real energies out, it's nice to be able to have a journal, or some people use a vocal journal where they just speak into their phone, like a voice memo or something. So meditation is the number one way to, to connect with your higher power, connect with your spiritual self. And journaling, and sort of, journaling is a great way to sort out your emotional healing process and your own personal growth. You get to know yourself so much better when you look at your own thoughts and feelings and everything, in paper. So those would be, 100%. I think, are the two biggest ways. And there's so many books out there. There's so many classes. I mean, I feel like when I began my journey 20, 30 years ago, like there wasn't, even close to as much, personal growth information out there as there is now. But now I feel like it's, it's becoming part of our mainstream media. Everyone is writing books and teaching classes and having, all kinds of exposure to, to more spiritual growth and development work. So, yeah, there's so much out there to explore.
Without a doubt, definitely. One of the things that I've noticed, too, also is what someone said to me very recently, it's the amount of time that you spend with yourself in yourself. That's the expression I came up with, which is we all, lead such a busy life that I think 9 times out of 10, none of us really think about the fact that we have very little time to ourselves, at least most of us with a healthy career and children, et cetera. So I always said that I thought it might be a good idea to take that time, with yourself, in yourself, meaning exploring some of the things that you'd like to change or grow about yourself, et cetera, which I'm assuming through some of your services, do you help us get to a point where we are more enlightened about who we are or what we want to be? I just want to make a distinction there so people understand before we get into some of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big part of what I do is really to help people become more self-aware and to see themselves in their own, growth and development from a higher perspective. Because so many times I feel like we kind of get into situations in our lives and we almost feel like we're stuck in a rut, beating our head against a wall, experiencing the same lesson over and over and over again. And through, doing work like I do, it helps to give you a different perspective so you can see, oh, wow. So I got into this, funky relationship, followed by that funky relationship, followed by this one. And so now I can see my own patterns so I can make a different choice in the future, So that's really the gift about doing spiritual work. And, whether you're doing it on your own or whether you're doing it with someone else, to get services with someone else, it's just all about understanding your own patterns and looking at, what you've experienced, how you've navigated your life so far, and then setting yourself up to be more in alignment with what you truly want to create in your life.
And sometimes we need help finding ourselves, finding the correct path, finding the correct direction. And sometimes people like yourselves are instrumental in that. I can't say enough about my best friend. Obviously, she's done Reiki. She's done some of the similar things that you have, and I know I am a different person. I can say this right now with all clarity, and she would probably laugh at me, but it's true. Sherry, I'm a better person with you. I'm a better person, period, because of you. I've found a lot of myself through her, and so some of the gifts that she passes along, and especially talking about the universe and the gifts that we have to offer each other, it's amazing. But you're going to toot your own horn. But I want to talk about something you used to do. You were the president of the we want to talk about the Fronia Wellness Organization from 2008 to 2014. You were the president. So I'd like you just to, even though you're not obviously doing that anymore, just enlighten the audience a bit about what you used to do and why it was important for you to develop that wellness organization, and what do you feel really good about that came out from that experience.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I started a nonprofit. I founded that nonprofit back in 2008, and I looked at it as a way to help educate people on the products, services, and information that's available to them. Because when I began my journey, my holistic, personal growth journey, I felt like it was really hard for me to find the different information and different, services. Like I didn't even really know what I was doing. And so I, sort of felt my way through my own holistic, body, mind, spirit connection. And through doing that, it took me probably 10, 15 years kind of feeling my way into it and understanding, oh, this is what Reiki is. Oh, this is what kind of, intuitive information I get. And so what I wanted to do was to create this nonprofit that would help to share educational resources with the public to make their journey so much easier. Part of my work with that was to be able to create, spaces for people to become educated and enlightened, even in just what's being offered, so that it would make them easier to find the tools and resources they need to develop themselves. And twofold, it was also really a nice opportunity for practitioners, in the field to be able to network with each other, to get to know each other. Because, someone who does body work, maybe, work well with someone else who does, more mental work, and somebody who does emotional processing, may need a spiritual component sometimes. And so to bring people together and bring different practitioners together to be able to help them understand each other and work together and to network and collaborate was another, sort of facet of what I did with that organization. And I did have it in place for probably about 7 years. I did, smaller versions of different expos and events and fairs to be able to educate the public and bring that information, and those resources out into the world. And, over the years, I got a lot out of it. It was a wonderful experience, but I found it was really taking away a lot of the time. I had 5 kids at home as a single parent.
Right.
And I just found myself not having as much time to be able to be the kind of mother I wanted to be. And so I started scaling myself back a little bit. It was probably about 5 years ago. I started cutting myself back a little bit. I had a wellness center for a couple of years in Germantown, and kind of a body, mind, spirit wellness experience. And I closed that about 5 years ago. And then a year later, I also dismantled my nonprofit. And so I've been able to spend this last few years a little more focused on my family, and a little more focused on being the kind of parent that I really wanted and needed to be.
Nice. Now, before we go into all the different things that you do, I realize that you obviously have children, as you just mentioned, 5. So there are 2 things we want to talk about, because I'm about shameless promotion on the show as much as humanly possible. So I want to mention, first off, I know that you have a son, and he has this little company called Lighthart Insurance. So we should do a nice little promo here and say why everybody should contact Lighthart Insurance, who happens to be your son as well, correct?
Absolutely. Yes. He's been working on that. I want to say I think he started his business a little over a year ago. He's very much an entrepreneur. He's had several businesses already, and he got into doing insurance about a year ago because he was really seeing a way that he could work in a business that would help him save other people money, which always makes him feel good. He loves saving money, so he loves helping other people save money too. So that's why he kind of got into it. And so thank you for looking that up. I didn't even know you. Didn't even know you know.
That's quite all right. That's my job, is to look things up, my dear. And on a side note, we should also mention June 3rd, 3 o'clock at the VAR Gallery and Studios. Your daughter is going to be in a production called The First and the Last. I didn't get a chance to really look into what that is exactly. So is it a play? Is it a theater? What exactly is that? The First and the Last.
To be honest, I am not 100% sure. It looked like it was a play.
Crap.
It looked like it was a play that was written. I know. I wish I had a lot of details about it, but it looked like it was a play that was written, and she has a part in the play. She does so many different. My daughter's really into theater and film, and so she does so many different activities. It's hard for me to keep up with everything. So I just saw that she had this coming up, so I marked yes, I'm going to attend, and I'll find out what it is when I get there.
Well, and that's just it oftentimes. It's one of those things where we're like, we're so going to support our kids because if they say that they're going to be there and do this, we're totally going to be there. It doesn't really matter where it is. So, folks, we don't really know specifically, but it's The First and the Last. It's June 3rd, 3 o'clock. Her daughter's going to be in there. And, again, it's at the VAR Gallery and Studios. And just so you folks know, that's at 643 South 2nd Street in Milwaukee. So if you have time and you can get down there, certainly go there. I'm sure that they've got tickets available for this, so we want to make sure that we want to alert you to those situations. Now, as far as you, young lady, you have been doing your journeys as an energy healer and an intuitive reader since 1996, so that's quite some time. We're talking about 21 years here. So if we go back 20 years ago, did you wake up one morning and just say, I really want to be an intuitive today? Do you know what I mean? Can you kind of tell us, was there a predominant, event in your life, or were you influenced by someone, or what was the motivation behind gearing in this direction?
Well, I'll tell you, it did kind of happen a little bit by accident. When I was a child, I was about 10 or 11 years old, my parents had a psychic come to the house, and the psychic wasn't allowed to read children. He only read for the adults, so we had to stay in the basement. And it was a rec room, not like we were locked in the basement. Anyway, so I decided. So, I just had to clarify that because it sounded kind of bad.
Thank you.
But the psychic was upstairs. He was upstairs, and I, as an 11-year-old kid, had to see what a psychic looked like, because I thought he was going to have, like, some kind of glowing aura, like, floating off the ground or some kind of cool stuff. So I came upstairs and made an excuse that I needed to get my encyclopedias for school or something. And I walk past and I look in the room, and I see the guy sitting in there, and I'm like, I'm totally disappointed. Like, he just looks like a regular person, like somebody's grandpa. Anyway, I get my books, I go downstairs. Party, goes on. End of the party, my mom comes to say goodnight to me, and she says, when you watch past, the psychic isn't allowed to read for kids, but he did get a message that he had to share for you. And I was like, wow, okay, and I perked up. And he says, well, your daughter's got a gift, and she's going to be sharing it with thousands of people and helping them a lot. And so my mom tells me this when I'm 11, and I am, like, so thrilled. I'm like, oh, my God, I'm special. I'm gifted. Like, this is so great. So I get all the psychic books of, the 80s, the spoon bending and the, reading minds and, all that kind of cool stuff. I couldn't do any of it. It's like, I don't know what that psychic is thinking. Like, I don't know what he's thinking. I can't do any of this stuff. So my original journey began back then with trying to figure out how to be psychic and feeling like I was failing completely. And then I just kind of stumbled back into it over the years. When I was 18, I got the deck of tarot cards, which I enjoyed practicing with. And then, like I said, one day found myself reading for my neighbor's best friend's cousin, whose boyfriend just broke up with her. And I was, she came to my house. I did the reading. She said, in my culture, we have to give you a payment. So she gave me the $5. And I went, oh, I could make money at this. Like, I've been loving doing it for 10 years. I just enjoy it.
Right.
I never really thought about charging people for it. So I did. I started my business. I got some business cards, launched my business, and it kind of all took off from there. But the original launch was in 1996. Yeah, it was kind of fun.
Now, I have to ask you this question because my son asks, my 10-year-old son asks my best friend Sherry this all the time, and Sherry is the first one to say, oh, it'll be fine. He's 10 years old. He's old enough now. So I'm going to ask you to see because, of course, he keeps it bugging me about it. So I said, all right. I said, the lady I'm going to interview today, I'll ask her. So my son, my 10-year-old son, has this very obscure fascination with the Ouija board. He won't leave me alone about it. He wants to sit down and do the Ouija board. Now, everybody has their own opinion about the Ouija. So I'm just curious to ask you, only because I'm probably biased, because I was raised very Roman Catholic. So, of course, to us, technically, you don't touch those things. You don't go anywhere. You hear these stories all the time about bad energy, bad spirits are going to come. So what's your take on all that? I'm just curious.
Well, I would love to say not to worry about it. Go ahead and do it. But I have personally had some really negative experiences with a Ouija board. And so I feel like a Ouija board is a tool, to open portals between the realms and to bring communication. And it's something that is better in the hands of people or with people in the presence of people who have enough spiritual awareness and connection to be able to create sacred, safe space for you to be able to connect, to spirits. I, as a teenager, was fascinated with it as well. I thought, oh, this is really cool. We can talk to spirits. And I had a really very scary, dark, awful experience that lasted probably, I would say, 6 months to maybe a year. I'm a little fuzzy on the timeline. So I would recommend, if your son wants to work with it, to work with first, before he gets started, to work with somebody like your friend who could sit down with him and show him how to protect his energy, how to protect his space. Because really it's like, you wouldn't just open up your house to any random people. You wouldn't say like, hey, world, my doors are wide open. Go on in if you want, And it's kind of the same thing with spiritual connections. Some people believe that children have a safety and a protection around them, that you don't really have to worry. But I say just in case, I would make sure that he is with somebody who's, spiritually aware and adept enough to be able to help him get started and feel comfortable with it. Because most of the time, it's a positive experience. Like some of my first Ouija experiences were pretty amazing. Like I ended up connecting with my great-grandfather, who I never met, didn't know anything about him. And through the Ouija board, a man named Bill showed up, and he talked about when he died and how he died, because, those are the questions we asked. And so then I went to my grandfather, and I said, is there anybody from our family named Bill who lived on the south side of Milwaukee? And my grandfather said, yeah, my father's name was William, and he lived on the south side of Milwaukee. I said, and did he fall from a church steeple? And my grandfather was like, yeah, how do you know this? And I said, well, I found it out playing my Ouija board. And
my God.
So there's some really amazing connections you can make, because there's spirits that show up and you can get all kinds of great information. But just like with, like there's bad people in life, there's negative spirits on the other side too, that are unrest. And so it is important to be able to sort of clarify, and protect your energy so you're not just talking to anybody. It'd be kind of like if you could pick up the phone and any party line person could, drop in. It's the same sort of thing when you open up the portals between the realms. Any spirits that are on the other side, if there's not a protective, barrier, they can kind of drop in. And so you could be in the middle of conversation with one spirit, and then just like in a party line, somebody else will drop in, and you won't even know that right away that the energy has shifted. So you might think, oh, I'm talking to someone, safe and comfortable, but, it could be a totally different spirit, and you wouldn't even, it would be hard to figure out. So I don't want to scare anyone. And
No, but I'm pretty sure
I
Mom's going to say, no, we're waiting. Just because I'm Mom, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just not ready yet. I'm not at that point where I'm like really comfortable with this and thinking, as mothers, we protect our children probably more even so than we do ourselves. So obviously, he keeps bringing it up, and I'm like, you know what? But he also brings up La La Land and Suicide Squad and like 50 other things. So I'm like, you know what? Unless I bring it up again, he'll probably forget for like a month. So, okay, I'm glad you cleared that up. So, Sherry, if you're listening, see what Deborah said? See? So, no, we're not doing it. That's my thought right now. But thank you for clearing that up. Now, before I get into the different services that Deborah provides, let me just ask this.
Mm-hmm.
This had to be so cool. I'm in media myself, but I have never, ever visited the Moo Crew Morning Show. I've never met them personally. They're one of the few people in town I haven't. So what was that experience like? Because I know you appeared on 106 FM before. That had to be really cool.
Yeah, that was a few years ago when my 12-year-old was a baby, so it was a while ago. But yeah, it was fun. And then we did some live readings on the air. I think I was on 2 years in a row.
Oh, nice.
But at the time I had just had a baby, got pregnant with another one,
Right.
so that would have been child number 5. My life was kind of busy, and so I only did 2 years, and then another friend of mine took over working with them, which, is great. But it was a fun experience. I was nervous doing the readings live. I was like, oh, what if I don't get the messages? What if what if I can't tune in fast enough? Because, everything moves so fast in radio.
Oh, right.
But it seemed to go really well. The callers,
cool.
Would call in, and it was, I think on Halloween they did it. And so they would call in and they would get live, they'd do live questions, and I'd do the readings right on air.
That's neat. I like that. Okay. We're going to break down your various different services so that people understand you're not a one-woman facet. You're about 27 woman facets. So I can't go through literally everything you do because there's just too much. I'm telling you, look at her site. I mean, there's like 8,000 things on there. I can't even remember all of them. So I picked out all the different pertinent ones, so we'll cover a lot of ground here. But first and foremost, we want to talk about something that's important that you do, which is, of course, teaching. Because I teach myself, and I don't know about you, but there's such a hard. It's a hard job. You know what I mean? I mean, sure, you get paid for it, but it really does do the hard good to influence and encourage and inspire other people. So talk to us a little bit about what you teach. Are there various areas or specific areas, and how often you do?
Absolutely. I have had experience I do intuitive tarot. So like I said in the beginning, that I do teach tarot card reading, and I teach it for people who are, who want to start a business, who want to go into that profession. And I also teach it to people who are brand new, who are just exploring the tarot and just want to know how to get some messages and some clarity for themselves. So tarot was the first thing that I started teaching. After that, I moved into, I think I did teach some reflexology for a while, but I'm not doing that anymore. And, mostly, it's funny because I don't really even see myself exactly as a teacher, even though I know that's the role that I'm, in. But I really feel like we're all learning and growing. And basically, I kind of get people together and find out what they need to learn about, in terms of their personal growth and development. And then, I structure whatever classes and whatever groups and gatherings I'm doing based on the information that's needed for the group I'm speaking to. So most of what I'm doing is really channeling messages and information from people's higher power, from the guardian angels and spirit guides that watch over us. So I don't teach anything per se. I mostly just share spiritual wisdom that I feel and sense while we're, together in a classroom setting, if that makes any sense at all. So, I do teach intuitive tarot. I've taught classes on dream interpretation. I just finished a 6-week series in Intuitive Awakening to help people open up their intuitive energy. A lot of my classes, especially the ones online, they're kind of half education and half energy healing. So it's half education. Well, I should say, let's break it into thirds. It's like 1/3 education, 1/3 spirit messaging, 1/3 healing. So I do talk a little bit about my own personal wisdom and experience, and then I talk a little bit about, what I'm sharing from spirit, and then I focus on how to make those energy patterns shift, within people so that they can become more intuitive, so they can, be a little happier so they can let go of their emotional baggage, and just kind of find a life design that works for them.
Okay. Now, we want to flip gears a little bit because I'm not going to lie, until yesterday or the day before, I had no idea she even did this. But you actually perform ministerial services. And I was like, oh, my God. She can not only heal my heart, but she can actually marry me if she wanted to. You could marry me. You could renew my vows if you wanted to. I have to ask you what this is, because I was like, oh, yeah, she says that she does weddings, she does renewals of vows, and then there's this thing called hand fasting, and all I'm thinking of is, what? Hand fasting as it's relative to ministry work. I'm like, what? Okay, yeah. So you need to, you seriously need to explain what a hand fasting is. Not because I'm an idiot, but I've never heard of that in my life, and I'm sure my listening audience may not have either.
Okay, well, hand fasting is very much like a marriage. It's basically, between two partners, and so it's very much like a marriage ceremony. It's really just a promise between two partners, to carry their love, out in their lives and in their relationship. So it's very much like a marriage ceremony. But it's a different, sometimes people of different religious faiths, won't necessarily be ascribed to, the marriage, the way that it's structured. And so hand fasting is just so slightly different. And because of my own personal belief system, I believe there's, beauty in every religion and in every background and in every person. And so from my religious perspective, really what I'm doing is I'm working to honor the light within each and every person. And so I kind of, I structure my ceremonies for whatever the couple needs or whatever the individual needs. I structure it to match their religious belief systems, So I've done, just a handful of wedding ceremonies and a funeral. And, I don't do a lot of it. It's just something that, I do as Spirit calls me to.
Gotcha. And, of course, it's just an additional service, obviously, that you kind of throw out there, of course, which is nice because sometimes, those of us who are Catholic who got divorced and can't get in the Catholic Church again, obviously it's a nice option to be able to have somebody take care of something along those lines. Now, clearly we want to go to the tarot card reading because, first of all, if you're not going to read me on this program today, I'm going to come and see you and do a reading because I'm so far behind with I haven't had a reading in forever. I think I probably need a reading more than 80% of the people you see right now. I'm a hot mess. I'm literally a hot mess. And like, somebody needs to tell me if this hot mess is going to end. I don't know. Do you have any intuitions about me right now before I ask other questions? Please say you do. Please tell me something.
All right. Well, let me just listen in. Let's see if your guardian angels and guides have any messages to share with you. I don't actually have my cards with me right now. I'm not even actually home right now.
Oh, that's fine.
That's
fine. We can structure an actual reading itself.
Yeah, we can do that later, but for right now, let me just get into your guardian angels and guides and see what's going on. The first thing that I feel is before I get into your messages, I'm going to explain to you how it works for me. I am clairvoyant, so I see pictures and images, and I'm clairsentient and claircognizant, so I get a sense and a knowing about things. I am not clairaudient, so I don't hear voices speaking to me, and I don't leave my body to, let spirit take over or anything like that. I just see pictures and images, and then I get a sense and a knowing about what they mean. And so, sometimes they may have a deeper meaning to you, and sometimes it takes a little while to figure it all out. But let's just, I'll take a little listen and see what the guides have to say for you today, and we can see what kind of messages they have to share.
Oh, please.
All right, I saw the first thing I saw for you. Well, first of all, every message I feel is good because even if you're going through a difficulty in your life, even if you're about to go through some kind of big drama or something, getting a message to see how to get through it easier, better, more comfortably. I feel like all messages are designed to help you through your life lessons, not make them more difficult,
I like that.
So anything that comes up, even if it's going to be a tough challenge, some people come and they ask me, Deborah, I want to know, is my husband cheating on me? And if I happen to see that that's true and that he's, very likely to be cheating, then what we'll do is we'll look at, how do you work through this? How do you approach him with it? How do you discuss it? Or, am I going to lose my job? Things like that. People come to me with stuff like that all the time. And so I feel like it's never a negative thing to see that there's going to be something different, difficult coming up, because what it does is it shows you how your life is being restructured. Like, okay, well, this particular piece, maybe I'm losing my job and maybe it's because I'm meant for something else. And so maybe that's what that whole shift is about. And getting a reading helps people to see that. So that's just a little bit about how I work, before we get started.
Thank you.
But let's go ahead and just take a little tune in to your guardian angels and guides. And I like to start every message with calling your angels forward and asking them, to step into this space and time, to surround us both in a circle of white light, and to reveal all the insight, wisdom, and truth that you need today. All right. The first thing that I saw for you is I got this feeling of like, it's funny that you used the words like hot mess, I think is what you said. But it's like, I got this feeling of like this bubbling energy, like something was boiling like underneath. And so I get the feeling that there's a lot of stuff that's heating up in your life right now. There's a lot of stuff that's like, bubbling up and heating up. But the cool thing is that it kind of like the whole imagery sort of looked like a lava lamp. And I used to be totally into lava lamps when I was a kid.
Really?
And so the thing that I get from it is looking at whatever this bubbling up energy is about in your life, is that it's a creative expression. And it's a fascinating creative expression. So whereas you feel sometimes that what you have going on in your life might be chaotic or messy or confusing or whatever, really what it is like it's this fascinating creative expression of who you are, and just like I was enchanted with lava lamps as a kid and I would watch them for hours. I was amazed by the way it bubbled up and moved around. And I feel like that's you. You are just this fiery, powerful, sort of bubbling up energy.
Thank you.
But you're fascinating to watch. It's like it's amazing, and the world around you is enchanted by you, and I feel like to remind you of that. So sometimes you may feel like, wow, I just got, stuff going on all over the place and, things are just a crazy mess. But really, it's just you expressing the beautiful creative being that you are and that fiery, bubbly nature that you have. And the world around you watches in awe, as you kind of bubble around and let your, little lava blobs float around. Everybody around you is kind of, in awe by the process. And the next thing that I saw from your angels, they usually give me messages in threes. So the first message was about that. The second thing that I saw was you're being handed a golden key. And I feel like this is the key to like unlock some sort of like amazing new opportunity in your life. I almost get this feeling.
Oh my God, you're scaring me now.
Oh no, why? What's wrong?
Because you're very clairvoyant. Yes. No, I know what you're talking about, and I keep it's in the back of my head. There's a very golden key that could unlock a great deal of things in the next month or two. So it's very ironic that's okay, I'm sorry. But yes, okay.
No, that's okay. That's perfect. And that's what I saw for you. It's like I got this vibe of like, when Batman gets the key to the city or whatever.
Yes.
Like, I got this vibe of like there's this golden key that's coming your way, and it's this beautiful opportunity that's going to unlock, so much potential for you, your career, your life, your, just yourself of, who you are and what you've come to this world to accomplish. So I feel like your guardian angels, like this golden key is coming in. And, I see you basically, all you need to do is hold your hands palm up and receive. I feel like there's beautiful blessings coming your way, that, the key is coming your way. All you need to do is just relax and receive. There's so much great stuff opening up for you.
Thank you.
And the next, there's like I said, they usually have 3 messages, so I'll let them go ahead and finish with the third one. So you already know about this great opportunity. I also see the energy of the color indigo kind of coming into your consciousness, I get the feeling there's going to be a little bit of psychic awakening happening with you. Maybe because of, this, new opportunity. It's going to open up some more of your intuitive ability. But I feel like there's, this beautiful indigo color that's kind of flowing into your consciousness. And I got the feeling that it was somehow going to be like expressed in either what you're doing or, I don't know exactly how that's going to affect you, but I feel like there's a little intuitive awakening of your own that's going to be happening over this next year or so. And I felt like these little threads, like little ribbons of indigo energy that were kind of flowing into your consciousness. So I get the feeling you're going to notice yourself being a little more psychic, a little more aware, a little more connected, and just kind of feeling a lot of synchronicity and a lot of like, oh, wow, that worked out perfectly, or I knew that was going to happen, that kind of feeling. So I feel like you're going to be experiencing a lot of that over this next year because that energy is very much waking up in your consciousness.
Gotcha. So now I have to ask you because, of course, obviously,
sure,
you've gotten these messages for me. So would you recommend, and I say this more so for our listening audience too. So let's say, for instance, you passed this information along to me. Now, would you still come to me and say to me, you know what, Cindy, you still should come in, still have the tarot card reading done, et cetera? Because my assumption is I should still have an actual card reading done, I presume, because there are questions unanswered. So I'm just curious, so we can advise our audience as well. Does one go hand in hand another? Like, for instance, if you give messages to someone as you did now, would you still recommend, okay, I still think you should do this and this and this? Do you follow me?
I understand exactly what you're saying, and I basically let people come to me when they feel like they need me. And that's kind of just how I've built my business over the years. I don't really ever tell people you need to see me. I just say, well, here's, what I do, and if you're interested in, connecting, please do. So I leave it out. I leave it totally up to you. If you feel like you got what you needed from that message and you don't need anything further, beautiful.
No, I didn't just say that. I'm hearing you in terms of those things. However, there's more. I know there's more, and I haven't had a reading done. So lesson learned, kid. She can give you that intuition there, but I'm still I need to have a reading done. I know it.
Well, and a lot of people have more specific questions about their lives. Like, for example, what comes through naturally from spirit is usually what you need to keep your spirit in alignment, So it's kind of like that's going to be your soul's message, your soul's, information. And a lot of people wonder, well, how does that play out in my life? Like, for example, you might get a spiritual message about having more confidence. But then you have to think about, well, where do I need the confidence? Do I need it at work? Do I need it in my relationship? Do I need it in my friendships? Do I need it, as a parent? Like, where do I need that? And so that's what a reading would follow up and then give you a little bit more detail about what those. So that's where the tarot comes in for me, because the spiritual messages are beautiful and they're very helpful to knowing, how to navigate your spiritual journey. But when you sit down with the tarot, that's where you can get the information about, okay, well, here's how this, piece is unfolding in your life. Here's the area of your life that this spiritual lesson is affecting you, and it just gives you a little bit more detail and a little bit more focus so that then you know how to move forward in your life a little more clearly.
Gotcha. Now, I want to kind of throw this to the side over here because one of the other things I know you do is dream interpretation workshop, and obviously most of us already know what dream interpretations mean. So I just have a quick question in reference to that because she does do workshops, and I assume, is this done over the period of one session, or do you typically recommend that individuals do this over the course of time, meaning like once a week? I mean, I guess does it depend? I mean, are there variables involved in how often they should be taking a workshop on this?
Well, and it really very much depends on the person. As far as what I do, I teach dream interpretation very much like I teach tarot. So it's intuitive, it's personalized, and it's really about helping people understand themselves. So instead of looking at, what are the traditional meanings of each tarot card, or what are the universal meanings of standing in a room naked or whatever, instead of looking at, what is being taught in the textbooks, because I feel like you could learn that with a textbook. What I teach people to do is to understand it from their own perspective and how to interpret it on their own. So in terms of, doing dream interpretation, I've had people come for, an hour and a half session. We've done, whole day sessions. And it's really just about how deep people want to go, how much they want to, look at themselves, and how much they're, really ready, willing, and able, to face the different aspects of themselves that are occurring in their dreams. So an hour and a half class basically teaches you how to use the technique, and the 4-hour sessions and the 7-hour sessions, they're helping you actually apply the technique, where we look at the dreams, we write them down, we decode them, we work on them together, that kind of thing.
Nice. Gotcha. Now, one of the things that I want you to describe, because again, as I said, I'm light stupid when it comes to these sorts of services. And I don't mean to make fun of myself. I know I'm a smart person, but some of the lingo and some of the language, like I said, no idea what the hand fasting was. So I'm going to assume that an energy bath is going to involve either water or spritzing, or I'm not really sure. I guess, can you tell us, to those that don't know what an energy bath is?
Yeah, that's a great question, because actually nobody would know what it was because I invented it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
So basically, what I do is I lead people through a guided meditation, and I open up energy, very much like, have you had a Reiki session with your friend? Has she done Reiki for you before?
No, she keeps nagging me about it, and I'm intrigued to do it, to be honest, but I haven't actually done one yet, so I don't know.
You should totally do it. It's awesome. But basically what I do is very much like Reiki. So it's like I open up the energy for people to let go of stress and tensions and old baggage and, old beliefs and things that are just not serving their highest good and not really helping them in their lives. And so an energy bath is really just a bath in energy. So people usually lay down, like a lot of times I'll do them at yoga studios where people will all lay down on yoga mats and just relax. And then I guide them through a meditation. Sometimes I use sound, like I have an ocean drum and I have some, singing bowls and things like that. And sometimes I'll use sound to help guide it. But yeah, so that's kind of what it is. It's a sort of a guided meditation with energy healing, and sometimes I do spirit messaging, and we do different breathing techniques and exercises to be able to release, stuck energy in the body, and different, sometimes I use crystals and I use essential oils. Sometimes it does involve spritzing or sprays, because sometimes I'll go through the room and spray everybody with rose water. But yeah, so it's kind of an interesting bath in energy. I do them both, privately and in groups. So, I can work with people one-on-one. I can work with groups. I can work in person. I can work over the phone. I've got a series of recorded energy baths. I call them Energy Bath MP3s. And basically they're recorded, guided meditation energy healing sessions that help people to access different energy patterns. So, for example, if you're having trouble overcoming addiction, like maybe you're, can't give up your cookies or smoking or whatever, I've got an energy bath that will help to access that internal, energy power within yourself to be able to overcome whatever addiction it is that's, throwing you off course. But I've got probably 3 different full programs, and then I think 25 singles. So I've got quite a bit to choose from.
Wonderful. And, of course, I'm going to assume that, because I know that it's been mentioned, you do a 6-week personal transformation program. Obviously, folks, what that means is clearly it's 6 weeks, meaning that this isn't a 1-day, 2-day, or 1 week sort of thing. So if you would, please, just summarize for us, what are the things that people should hope to gain if they take the personal transformation program?
Really what I'm focusing on is being able to help people achieve certain goals or certain energies in their lives. So what I like to do at the beginning of the 6 weeks is to set an intention for what you'd like to do over the next 6 weeks. For example, some people may need a new job. So if somebody comes to me and they're like, Deborah, I've been trying to get a new job for 3 years. I can't figure out what's wrong. Why am I not getting a new job? What's the problem? I'll spend the next 6 weeks, helping them figure out, where their energy is blocked, where they're stuck, where their emotional baggage is, how to release it, and I'll help them work through that. So by the end of the 6 weeks, they've got all the, clarity they need. And many times people achieve their goals before the 6 weeks are up. But I like to say 6 weeks because that gives us a good time to not only achieve the goal, but to hold the whole new energy in place so we don't roll back into old energy patterns. So I feel very strongly about doing 6-week programs because they're really helpful for, even if you think about weight loss, if you're trying to lose weight, like you've got to work at it for at least 6 weeks before you're going to notice any difference.
I agree
it's the same thing with energy shifts.
That's awesome. And then, of course, the other thing I wanted to mention was the spiritual coaching / counseling, I call it, obviously, because most of us think about spiritual anything. Usually we're thinking pastor, we're thinking some sort of ministerial sort of capacity. So tell me a little bit about when you're providing spiritual counseling to others, what do you focus on, say, for instance, versus the traditional religion or some of the other things, or what's involved with that? Excuse me.
No problem. What I'm looking for when I'm doing spiritual counseling work is to be able to help people move through whatever life lessons they're going through right now, and to be able to help give them some spiritual perspective on what it is they're learning. For example, you see someone who goes into relationship after relationship and feels disappointed, or maybe, I was with this guy and he cheated on me. I was with this guy and he cheated on me. And now, I want to get with somebody new, but I don't want to go through that same experience again. I don't want to have another guy that's going to treat me the same way. And so what we do in spiritual counseling is be able to look at that life lesson and say, okay, what is it that you were learning from this? And then how can you move forward and create something else? So really, like when I do the psychic work, I'm doing a lot of the talking where I'm telling people, here's what I see in your life, here's what I pick up. And when I'm doing the spiritual counseling work, really the other person is doing more of the talking. And I'm holding space for them and asking them questions to be able to get to their own truths.
Sure.
Whereas with the psychic work, I'm kind of doing it for them, if that makes any sense.
It does. I totally understand exactly what you're talking about there as far as that goes. And I also wanted to ask about the other thing, too. Now, if individuals are approaching you about doing any of these services, I guess we should ask the specifics, meaning how far are you booked at this point in time? Typically, do they come in for a preliminary session to discuss what services are needed? What do you have what we would call a process, meaning establishing needs for each particular client?
I'm very flexible and very open to what people need at that particular time. I will sometimes make like what I call a discovery call where we just talk for about 10 minutes to figure out if my services are a good fit for them. That does happen. Most people will book like a short session to see if they like what I have to say, and if they like what I do. So a lot of people will book, the 10-minute session, which I think is like $20 or something. So a lot of people will book that kind of sample session to get a feel for who I am, what I do, and if it's a good fit for them. And then if they like it, we can always book a longer session, following. Most of my clientele I work with over the phone. When I started my business, almost 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago now, but I was a single parent, and so I didn't really have a lot of time to get outside of the house to be able to go meet with people face to face. And to be able to travel different places because I had, 3 little kids in tow. And so what I did was I met with my clients over the phone, and that just tended to be most of the way my business developed. So probably about 80% of what I do is one-on-one, readings over the phone, and then 20% would probably be in person. And I don't have a specific protocol. It's kind of what people feel drawn to. Some people have to ask me questions before they feel safe enough to book an appointment, and when I have time to do that, I'm happy to chat with people one-on-one when I've got time. Okay. Sometimes, between work and the kids, I don't always have a lot of free time, so sometimes people will book, a sample session. I also work at events and expos, and so I get a little bit of exposure from that too, so people can come sit down with me at get a short session, feel me out, see if this looks like a good direction for them to go, So yeah, that's how. And if anybody,
I was just going to say, I was just going to give some feedback here. Actually, obviously, you've been listening to me today, and you heard the 3 things that she mentioned, and sometimes in life we have answers that we don't ask. We get answers without asking the questions, meaning our heart has particular worries, woes, thoughts, hopes and dreams and things, and she has addressed a lot of those things in the 3 intuitions that she gave me today. I will tell you that in the past, some of her clients have said she brings great light and clarity. She's very gentle in her delivery technique. She brings a sense of joy and relaxation to us, and overall relief from anxiety, peace to both my home and my heart, and offers a beautiful energy. Those are all very powerful and very moving things for people to say, and that is a testament in and of itself. Obviously, the host herself is pretty blown away. When I get off this interview, by the way, I'm going to send you, this is ironic, I will send you, because I don't know that I want everyone to know this, or at least 60,000 people, just to get your insights, because ironically I had a terrible, terrible dream last night. It was horrid, and this is not the first time this has happened, so I just want to get a take on that. If whatever simple advice or whatever you can tell me would be terrific. And I definitely,
Absolutely.
when I get off, we'll be asking when I'm coming for this tarot reading, because if I don't do it soon, you'll never get me, because I have to go to New York soon, and I have to do the 800 things to get that key you're talking about. That involves a whole lot of work next month or two. So I definitely have to do that. Now, there's just a couple things I want to do before I finish up, because sadly our time has gone so quickly. Plus, I have another event I have to go to tonight. But I'm so glad we got to, this is awesome. We got to squeeze in a whole hour. That's like awesome.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it
I
was
hope
wonderful. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it. No, it's perfect. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it either, but it worked out great.
People come on the show and they're like, "Oh my God, the time goes so fast, doesn't it?" It doesn't feel like it's that long, but I mean, it's wild. So I'm going to read off this list and just remind me if I've forgotten anything. These are all the ways that you can find Deborah, and it's Deborah Lighthart again. Obviously, of course, her main office is located in Germantown. When you visit her website, you'll be able to find specific information in terms of telephone number, location, how to book things, whether you're in town or out of town in terms of her services. So here goes. She is on Facebook. She has a personal page. And again, it's Deborah and Lighthart, just as it sounds, Light, L-I-G-H-T, and H-A-R-T, although I think it should be H-E-A-R-T. Her website is is DeborahLighthart.com. Obviously, of course, she's part of the healing community. LinkedIn. She's on YouTube. She's on Google+. She's on Etsy. Her Instagram, of course, is her name as well, Deborah Lighthart. And then, of course, on Twitter at and that's Deb Lighthart, same spelling of her last name. Have I missed any place to find you?
I don't think so. I think you're very comprehensive. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I am a journalist. It's one of those things that we do. So, I mean, obviously it goes without saying you have a testament sitting here. I cannot thank you enough for all this time that you've given me. Obviously, I'm going to reach out after the show. What I can tell you, audience members, is I have known Deborah for a while, and although her and I are both so busy that we haven't had a chance to meet face-to-face, but now we will, because now I'm coming for my tarot reading. What I can tell you is that her posts and her messages that she sends off to other people are always full of inspiration and intuition, and I don't mean that tongue-in-cheek. I mean that literally. She is a book of wealth when it comes to being able to read a heart and a soul, and that's a gift that not all of us get an opportunity to get. You're so very blessed, and I'm sure you know that, and I'm sure you recognize that. And not only that, she got beat by the beauty stick, literally. I mean, she's a beautiful woman on the inside and the outside, and it's such a pleasure for me to interview people like yourself, especially locals who have so much to offer. So I should be thanking you. Thank you for coming on the show. I will reach out shortly, like I said, and certainly, please, folks, go and visit Deborah. She is always open to new business and new hearts and new people and new enlightenment. So hopefully I did justice to you. I hope.
Oh, thank you so much. It was wonderful. It was a great experience. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. All right, we'll be in touch soon, Deborah. You have a great evening.
All right, you too. I'll talk to you soon. All right, bye-bye.
I'll talk to you soon. Wow, that was a double-decker, wasn't it? So my big thanks to Deborah Lighthart, of course, obviously to Stacie as well. We got a good education this afternoon, not only about intuition and healing, but also about, obviously, brain aneurysms as part of our stroke month. Want to remind everybody that Brittany Herbert is coming on the show tomorrow. That's 1 o'clock Central Standard Time. As I mentioned, just going to be a fascinating interview because she's, of course, the founder of Sky High for St. Jude. And so anything relative to helping children is big on my book. So thanks so much to absolutely everybody that's been listening in today. Thank you so much to my participants. Thank you so much to everybody for being part of this program, because without you, I would have nothing. My special thanks to Michelle Pascal, obviously, because without her, I would not have had the Stacie Jones interview. And again, I look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow. Have a great evening. I'll see you then.
It's fall. The geese are headed south, and it's time for you to hit the woods. So button things up, find where they hide, and pattern the deer you seek. Come into Cabela's Great Outdoor Days and save over 20% on Herter's Select Grade handgun ammo. Save $180 after mail-in rebate on Walther PPS M2 pistols with instant savings of $80. And get a Vortex Diamondback 3.5 to 10x50 V-Plex rifle scope, just $149.99. Shop in-store and at Cabela's.com. It's fall. The geese are headed south, and it's time for you to hit the woods. So button things up, find where they hide, and pattern the deer you seek. Come into Cabela's Great Outdoor Days and save over 20% on Herter's Select Grade handgun ammo. Save $180 after mail-in rebate on Walther PPS M2 pistols with instant savings of $80. And get a Vortex Diamondback 3.5 to 10x50 V-Plex rifle scope, just $149.99. Shop in-store and at Cabela's.com.